I never thought I'd be the guy posting about my own marriage falling apart, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I'll give you the quick background. I married Emily about a year ago after dating her for 3 years. She's beautiful, smart, and I genuinely thought we had a future. We moved into a nice apartment, everything seemed perfect until it was. Lately, I noticed small things. She was more distant, secretive about her phone, brushing off my questions like I was bothering her. At first, I thought maybe she was just stressed from work or some personal stuff. She tell me she loved me, that I was her everything, but her actions didn't match her words anymore. She'd go out late, make excuses about girls' nights or work stuff, but I could see she was hiding something. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I convinced myself maybe I was just paranoid, maybe I was overthinking it. Then came the night before our wedding. We'd been planning the big day for months. The house was decorated, the family was arriving, and I was starting to feel the nerves and excitement. That's normal, right? But that night I came home early from work because I had a gut feeling. Something told me I should check or at least be there early, just in case. I unlocked the door to our place, and the first thing I noticed was the silence. Usually, Emily would be in the living room watching TV or fussing around, but everything was eerily quiet. I called out her name and there was no answer. I stepped inside and that's when I saw her. She was sitting on the couch, dressed in my shirt, hair a mess but clearly not worried about hiding it. Next to her was my best man, Chris. They were both in a mess of clothes, tangled together, and I swear I saw the look on her face change when they saw me. My heart stopped. I don't even remember how I got inside, but suddenly I was standing there, watching the two of them. Emily's mouth was still moving, lying through her teeth, telling him to shut up, that I didn't understand, that I was just overreacting, or that it didn't mean anything. Chris looked guilty, but also like he didn't care. I felt this cold rush of betrayal that hit me so hard I thought I might drop to my knees. I can't really describe what that moment was like. It was like the world shrank, and everything I believed about Emily and about love just shattered in that instant. She looked at me with those bitchy, dismissive eyes and told me it was nothing, just a mistake, that I was being paranoid, that she loved me but she wasn't happy. She told me she was just having sex with Chris because she was stressed and upset, and that it didn't mean anything. That she'd never cheat on me except she was caught red-handed. And I swear her tone was so casual, so dismissive, like she was bored with the whole thing, like she could do whatever she wanted and I was supposed to accept it. I stood there trying to process it all and I couldn't. My first instinct was rage, hot, uncontrollable rage. But underneath that, there was this sinking feeling of total devastation. I thought about everything we shared, the plans, the trust, the future. All of it felt like a lie. I couldn't even speak. I just stared at her, trying to find the words to say, to do something, but I was frozen. The betrayal hit so hard that I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That night, everything changed. I still remember the look in her eyes, so bitchy, so indifferent. She kept saying she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was sorry, that I just didn't understand her. But I knew she lied. She always lied. And that's when I realized I'd been living in some kind of illusion. I thought I knew her, but I didn't. And that moment right there was the end of everything I believed in about love. After I saw her there with Chris, acting like it was just a little mistake, I felt something I'd never experienced so intensely before, pure, unfiltered rage. But beneath that, there was this deep, aching sadness. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, right on the eve of our wedding. It was like she was mocking everything we had, everything I thought we were building. I don't remember how I got through the night. It's all a blur. One second I was standing there trying to piece together what I'd just seen, and the next I was packing my bag. I didn't even sleep that night. I was consumed with thoughts of betrayal, of how she could lie so easily, how she could dismiss me like I was nothing. I kept thinking about the times she told me she loved me, the promises, the future I envisioned. All of it felt hollow now, like a house built on quicksand. The next morning I confronted her again. I couldn't just let it go, not after what I'd seen. I told her I knew everything. Her face twisted into a sneer and she started with her usual bullshit, saying it was just sex, that she was stressed, that she didn't mean to hurt me. She said I was overreacting, that it wasn't a big deal, that she still loved me, that she was sorry but she couldn't help what she did. She acted like I was the crazy one, like I was supposed to forgive her right there on the spot. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so calm about it? How could she lie so effortlessly? I stared at her, my fists clenched, trying to hold back the anger boiling inside. I told her I couldn't do this, that I needed time to think, that I couldn't marry her after this. She rolled her eyes, said I was overreacting, that I was being selfish. She called me insecure, jealous, like I was some sort of freak for catching her cheating. That's when I started to realize she's not just a cheat, she's a master manipulator. She's the kind of woman who can lie with a smile, spin stories, and make you doubt your own instincts. She's bitchy, dismissive, and totally indifferent to how much she's hurting me. She told me I was making a huge deal out of nothing, that I was ruining everything just because I caught her in the act. She said she loved me, but honestly her words felt empty now. They sounded like lies, just like everything else she'd been telling me for years. The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and most of all, confused. How did I miss all the signs? Why didn't I see she was capable of this? I kept replaying that night in my head, every detail, every expression, every lie she threw at me. I started questioning everything about our relationship. Was I just blind? Did I miss all the red flags? Did I love her so much that I ignored what was right in front of me? And here's the messed up part, I was angry at Chris too. Not just because he cheated with her, but because I saw how she treated him, how she dismissed him after. She's the kind of woman who uses people, manipulates them, then throws them away when she's done. That's who she is. She's bitchy, selfish, and totally incapable of genuine remorse. I could see that now. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she got caught, and she wanted everything to go back to normal like nothing had happened. But I couldn't pretend anymore. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't marry someone who thought cheating was just a little mistake, someone who so easily lied and dismissed my feelings. I felt a mixture of heartbreak and fury. I wanted to smash her face, but I also wanted to tear down everything we'd built. I realized then that my entire life, I'd been living in a fantasy, believing in love, trust, loyalty. And now I saw how fragile it all was, how easily it could shatter with a single, careless night. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I would do whatever it took to make her see she couldn't treat people like this and expect everything to be okay. I had to figure out my next move, whether to fight for her or to walk away and rebuild from the ashes. But one thing was certain. My world had just been turned upside down. After that confrontation, I spent the next few days in a fog. I did everything I could to avoid her, but at the same time, I couldn't escape the images and feelings that kept looping through my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Chris, heard her dismiss my accusations, and felt the betrayal like a punch in the gut all over again. It was like my entire sense of trust had been shredded into tiny pieces I couldn't pick up. I started to notice more things that I'd overlooked before. Her phone was always within reach, secretive texts popping up when she thought I wasn't looking. Her social media was suddenly full of vague posts about stress and needing escape. She'd snap at me over small things, dismiss my concerns, and act like I was crazy for even questioning her. She was bitchy, sarcastic, and manipulative, like she thrived on making me feel small. Deep down, I knew she'd been lying to me for a long time, hiding her true self behind that fake smile. One day, I decided I had to get to the bottom of it. I couldn't just be angry and hurt. I needed answers. So I started digging. I checked her phone when she was in the shower, looked through her messages, her photos. That's when I found the proof I needed, a string of explicit texts between her and Chris, all full of promises, dirty talk, and plans to meet up again. It wasn't just a one-night stand. It was a pattern. They'd been doing this for a while, probably sneaking around behind my back for months. I felt sick. The betrayal ran so deep I thought I might vomit. All those nights I stayed up worrying, all those times she brushed me off, she was actually with him. No wonder she was so bitchy and distant. She'd been lying to my face the whole time. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I trusted her blindly, and she'd been cheating on me with my best man for months. The anger boiled over. I wanted to confront her again, but this time with the evidence in hand. When I finally sat her down, I was furious. I laid out everything I found, her messages, the photos, the times I saw her brush me off and act like she was too busy or stressed. I told her I knew everything. Her reaction was typical. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and kept lying, saying those messages were just flirty banter, that Chris was just a friend, and that I was overreacting. She told me I was making a mountain out of a molehill, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that it was just sex, and that I should get over it. She kept gaslighting me, telling me I was insecure, that she loved me, and I was just jealous. She said she'd stop seeing Chris, that she was sorry, but I didn't believe her. Not after what I'd seen. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so calm, so dismissive? It wasn't just the cheating, it was her attitude, her total lack of remorse, like she was entitled to do whatever she wanted and I should just accept it. That's when I realized she's a bitchy, manipulative woman who thinks she's above everyone else. And I was just a pawn in her game. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what this all meant. Was this the woman I was supposed to marry? Could I ever trust her again? The images haunted me, her lying with Chris, her dismissive smirk, her words that tried to downplay everything. It all felt so surreal. I kept asking myself, is love enough? Is forgiveness even possible after this? I thought back to all the good times, all the promises, and now they just felt like lies. I was overwhelmed with a mix of heartbreak, fury, and deep disappointment. At some point, I realized I couldn't keep living like this. I had to make a decision. Do I try to forgive her and move on, hoping she changes? Do I confront her more, or do I just walk away? The truth was, I knew I couldn't stay with her. Not after she betrayed me so blatantly, so shamelessly. My mind was made up. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into pretending everything was fine. I'd been betrayed by the one person I trusted most, and I needed to protect myself now, even if it meant starting over. So I started planning how I would leave. I packed some of my things, booked a hotel for a few days, and made a decision. I was done. I couldn't stay and pretend to be okay with her lying and dismissing me like I was nothing. I needed space to breathe, to heal, and to figure out what my next step was. I knew this was just the beginning of a long, painful process, but I also knew I wasn't going to let her win. I was done being the fool who believed in fairy tales. Now, I was just a man trying to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. Let me know if you want me to continue with the next part. The days that followed were a blur of silence and reflection. I moved into the hotel, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I couldn't face her anymore. Every time I was alone, my mind would spiral back to that night, to her lies, to Chris's guilty looks. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her bitchy, manipulative side. She was always good at hiding her true self, but now it was all out in the open, and I felt like a damn fool for not seeing it sooner. I spent hours just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. Her dismissive tone, her little lies, the way she looked at Chris like he was some prize she'd won. It was sickening. I couldn't believe I had been so naive. I kept telling myself I should feel angry, betrayed, maybe even bitter, but mostly I just felt empty, like my heart had been drained out. I was angry at her, yes, but also at myself for trusting her so blindly. I knew I had to confront her one more time before I made any final decisions. I didn't trust her to tell the truth, but I needed to hear it from her own mouth. So I called her voice was full of that bitchy attitude again, like she didn't even care that I was calling. She said she was busy with wedding stuff, that she didn't have time for my drama. I told her I was coming over, and she huffed like I was bothering her. When I arrived at our apartment, she was still acting like nothing had happened. She was acting like she hadn't betrayed me in the worst way possible. She kept lying, saying she was stressed, that I was overreacting, that Chris was just a friend, that I was jealous and insecure. She tried to spin it like I was the bad guy for catching her cheating. She had this bitchy smirk on her face when she told me I was making a big deal out of nothing. I was furious then. My voice raised and I told her I knew everything. The texts, the photos, her dismissive attitude. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore, that she was manipulative and selfish. She got defensive, started crying fake tears, trying to make me feel guilty. She said she loved me, that she was sorry, that she'd never do it again. But her words felt hollow, like they were just more lies. I saw through her. I knew she was good at pretending, but I also knew I couldn't keep living with a liar. That's when I made my decision. I told her I was done, completely done. I told her I didn't want to see her again, that I was leaving for good. Her bitchy attitude turned into outright anger. She yelled at me, called me insecure, said I was overreacting again. She told me I was ruining her life, that she had every right to cheat because I was too controlling, or whatever bullshit she could come up with. But I didn't care anymore. My trust was shattered, and I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who didn't care about anyone but herself. I grabbed my things and left that place for good. I knew I couldn't stay and pretend everything was okay. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I was finally free from her lies, and sadness because I had lost the woman I thought I loved. But in the end, I knew I had made the right choice. I couldn't keep living in a lie. I needed to rebuild my life, even if it hurt like hell right now. The whole experience changed me. I realized how fragile trust is, how easy it is to be deceived by someone you love. I learned that some people, like Emily, are just selfish, bitchy, manipulative liars who will do whatever they can to get what they want, even if it destroys everything in their path. And I learned that I have to value myself enough to walk away from that kind of toxicity. That's what's most important now. Moving forward, I know I'll be cautious. I'll never let someone treat me like that again, and I'll definitely never trust blindly again. If you want me to keep going, just say the word. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. Being alone in that hotel room, I finally had time to really process everything. The betrayal, the lies, her cold dismissiveness. It was surreal. For the first couple of days, I didn't do much except sit and think. My mind kept circling back to what I thought was love, what I thought we had, and how wrong I'd been. I realized that my entire relationship with Emily had been built on illusions, false promises, and a lot of superficial stuff that she used to manipulate me. People always say you find out who someone really is during hard times, and that's true. When everything's falling apart, the masks come off. Emily's mask was a bitchy, manipulative woman who just used people to get what she wanted. Her excuses, her lies, all of it was so transparent now. She had no real remorse, no real love, just a selfish need to do whatever pleased her, regardless of the pain it caused. I also started to think about the future. What now? Do I try to move past this and forgive her? Do I let her go completely? Honestly, the thought of forgiving her after all this felt impossible. Trust, once broken that badly, is incredibly hard to rebuild, and I knew I'd never see her the same way again. Every time I thought about her bitchy attitude, her lies, her dismissiveness, I felt a wave of anger and disappointment. She was the kind of woman who could lie to your face and still sleep at night, but part of me also felt relief. I was finally free from her manipulation. No more walking on eggshells, no more endless lies, no more her dismissing my feelings or pretending to love me. I could breathe again, albeit through a lot of pain. I knew I needed to focus on myself now, rebuild my confidence and learn to trust again, but I also knew that wouldn't happen overnight. One thing I did was reach out to my close friends, people I trust, people who knew her and saw her bitchy side long before I did. Their support was everything. They told me I deserved better, that I was foolish to put up with someone like her, and that I should focus on healing. Their words helped a lot. They also warned me about women like Emily, those who manipulate, lie, and treat people like disposable objects. It was a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. I also started seeing a therapist, not because I thought I was crazy, but because I needed help sorting through all the anger and heartbreak. Sitting there, talking about her and everything we went through, I realized how much emotional damage betrayal causes. It's like a wound that doesn't heal overnight. But talking about it helped me see that I needed to forgive myself for trusting her blindly and stop blaming myself for her actions. Looking back, I see this whole ordeal as a brutal wake-up call. It's forced me to reevaluate what I want in a relationship and what I'm willing to accept. I learned that some women, like Emily, are deeply selfish and manipulative, and that love isn't enough if the foundation is built on lies and deceit. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I'm still healing, still trying to piece myself back together, but I know I'll come out stronger on the other side. So here's what I want to say to anyone reading this. Don't ignore the warning signs. Don't dismiss your gut feelings. If someone is lying and dismissing your feelings, pay attention. They're probably hiding something. And most importantly, value yourself enough to walk away when you see that someone isn't worth your trust or love. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares, not some manipulative bitch who'll cheat and lie just because she can. If you need me to go on, I'll tell you how I started rebuilding my life and what I'm doing now. Just say the word. The months that followed were the hardest I've ever gone through, but also the most necessary. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding my life, and into figuring out who I am without her. That's when I realized I'd been living in a kind of emotional fog, believing in fairy tales and ignoring all the red flags she kept waving in front of me. The betrayal with her best man was a shock, but what hurt even more was waking up to the fact that I had been so blind to her true nature. I started dating again, but cautiously. I didn't rush into anything new. My trust was shattered, and I needed time to heal. But I also learned to value myself more. I stopped making excuses for her bitchy attitude and manipulative behavior. I refused to be that guy who accepts being lied to and dismissed just because he's in love. That whole experience taught me that love has to be based on honesty and respect. Without those, everything else falls apart. Looking back, I've come to understand that sometimes people are just not who they appear to be. Emily was that kind of person, beautiful on the outside but rotten on the inside. It's a harsh lesson, but one that I think everyone needs to learn at some point. Never ignore the signs. Trust your instincts. If someone is lying, cheating, and dismissing your feelings, they're not worth your time, no matter how much you love them. Now I'm focusing on myself. I'm working out, doing things I enjoy, reconnecting with friends I lost touch with during the chaos. I've realized that my happiness doesn't depend on her or anyone like her. It depends on me, on setting boundaries, valuing my own feelings, and never letting anyone treat me like I'm disposable. I won't say I've completely moved on because healing takes time, but I can say I've learned a lot. I've learned that love isn't about sacrificing your self-respect or ignoring your gut feelings. And I've learned that some people, like Emily, are just not worth the pain. It's better to be alone than to stay with someone who manipulates and betrays you at every turn. So to anyone out there going through something similar, trust yourself. Don't let anyone make you question your worth. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and genuine respect. If they can't give you that, walk away, because life's too short to be with someone who treats you like an option or an afterthought. Keep your standards high and never settle for less. That's what I wish I'd known from the start.